I wanted to take you out to this field in the Lycus Valley with Colossae in the background and Laodicea and Hierapolis on the other side of the valley. This is a beautiful spot in Asia Minor where several churches were planted, but you haven't heard about them as churches that were planted by Paul. In fact, they were planted by Epaphras, so you might think of these churches as churches of Paul's grandchildren, his spiritual grandchildren. In fact, Philemon and Onesimus came from Colossae, and some other figures did too as well. The book of Colossians is really framed by references to Epaphras. The gospel is bearing fruit all over the world and growing, just as it has been doing among you since the day you heard it and understood God's grace in all its truth. You learned it from Epaphras, our dear fellow servant, who is a faithful minister of Christ on our behalf, and who also told us of your love in the Spirit. And then at the end of the book, it says, in chapter 4, verse 12, Paul's writing now from Rome, where he's a prisoner, and he says, Epaphras, who is one of you and a servant of Christ Jesus, sends greetings. Epaphras has been with Paul in Rome, but his heart is yearning for the people back home. He's always wrestling in prayer for you that you may stand firm in all the will of God, mature and fully assured. And listen to the geographical references coming up. I vouch for him that he's working hard for you and for those at Laodicea and Hierapolis. Our dear friend Luke the doctor and Demas send greetings. Give my greetings to the brothers at Laodicea and to Nympha and the church in her house. After this letter has been read to you, see that it is also read in the church of the Laodiceans, and that you in turn read the letter from Laodicea. You get an insight into this region where the churches are relating to each other. They're sharing letters written to each other. And in fact, we have this letter to the Colossians, but we don't have the letter to the Laodiceans. But they're all sharing this information. What I wanted you to take away from this spot, though, was the role of Epaphras, not the most well-known person in the New Testament by far. Paul is the one everyone thinks of for his church planting role, his apostolic ministry. But this region becomes evangelized as a result of Epaphras, whose loyalty and his commitment is going to bear fruit in this area. In some ways, this site of Colossae reminds me of Epaphras. It hasn't been excavated, it's not well known. Nobody really knows that much about Colossae right now. But you know, Colossae is very important, and Epaphras is very important. His ministry of planting, of sowing seed, of working hard, of tilling, it actually bore fruit globally. And that's part of what Paul recognized in Epaphras, was that he had an impact that was of eternal value.